Good afternoon. My name is Councillor Stephen Holliday. I'm the chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. We have quorum. I am now calling meeting 9 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at the Etobicoke Civic Centre in the council chamber. This meeting is also live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. If you're registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Etobicoke York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking on the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on the CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members if you need help with your devices. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at etcc@toronto.ca to help with motions. And I'm just going to check with Deputy Mayor Morley. You can hear us loud and clear? I got a thumbs up. Great. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. Seeing none, we will proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting on October 16th, 2023? Councillor Nunziata moves. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We can now go through the items. Our first item is EY 9.1, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18 Zorra Street Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Decision Report. We have speakers on that, so that will be held. EY 9.2, 105, 31st Street Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Decision Report. That will be held for speakers. EY 9.3, 1240 to 1250 Weston Road Official Plan Amendment, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, and Rental Housing Demolition Applications Decision Report. That will also be held for speakers. Excuse me, I'm just going to back up. There's an advisory here. As well, on EY 9.2, I'm going to suggest that we amend the order paper to consider item EX 9.7 following EY 9.2, as these applications are on neighboring sites. Are there any concerns with that? Seeing none, we will order that accordingly. EY 9.3 has been announced. EY 9.4. 301 Dixon Road Zoning Amendment Application Decision Report. That will also be held for speakers. EY 9.5, 5 Capri Road Zoning Bylaw Amendment Decision Report. Checking if we have any speakers for that. We do not, but I'm going to ask that that be held because there will be a motion for that. EY 9.6, 1871, 1879, 1885 Weston Road and PIN 10324-0541 Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Decision Report. That's held for speakers, and as well on this item, I'd like to suggest that we amend the order of the agenda to consider item EY 9.12 following item EY 9.6, as these items relate to the same property. Are there any concerns on that? No concerns, then we will order the paper as such. EY 9.7, 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard West, Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application. That's held for speakers, and as well as we discussed, this will be considered immediately following 9.2. EY 9.85 to 15 Denarda Street, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications decision report. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.92 to 16 Denarda Street, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications decision report.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 9.10, 266 and 268 Royal York Road zoning bylaw amendment application appeal report. Councillor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, would like to move staff recommendation.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 9.11, 4001 Steeles Avenue West, 5000 Jane Street, and 360 Hallmar Drive, zoning bylaw amendment and site plan control applications appeal report. Councillor Perruzza.
Can I just hold that down for a bit?
Councillor Perruzza is holding the item. EY 9.12, 1871 and 1879 to 1885 Weston Road alterations to the heritage attributes of designated properties and authority to enter under a heritage easement agreement. As discussed, we will hear that immediately following EY 9.6. EY 9.13, 153 Perry Crescent application to remove a private tree. I'm going to hold that down, Madam Clerk. EY 9.14, 126 Yorkview Drive, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. That's held for speakers. EY 9.15, 13 Murray Street, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we're looking to move deferral on this item.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves deferral. Madam Clerk, we're okay to do that now? All right. All those in favor of the deferral? Any opposed? That carries. Okay. EY 9.16, 52 Charleston Road, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. Is there anyone here to speak on that item? Great. Okay, can I just ask that you register with the clerk as a speaker? We'll hold the item, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the meeting. Thank you. EY 9.17, 96 Cowley Avenue, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. We have a speaker on that, so that item will be held. EY 9.18, changes to the Kingsway BIA Board of Management. Councillor Morley.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're moving staff recommendations on this item.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.19, Renforth Drive and Toledo Road, pedestrian crossing protection. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, could you display the amendment? And members, this is a very small ask, and that is to ask the staff to take a look at expanding the community safety zone because it stops just short of the new crossing. And so this would be an opportunity to look at expanding it. I hope you'll support that. And just a big thank you to all of the members of the Toronto Public Service that worked on this particular item. All those in favor on the amendment? Any opposed? That carries. On the item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. EY 9.20, Carlingview Drive and Meteor Drive, pedestrian crossing protection. Councillor Crescent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm moving staff recommendation.
Councillor Crescent moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.21, 503 Keele Street, payment in lieu of parking. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 9.22, Jackson Avenue parking amendments. Councillor Morley.
Supporting staff recommendations on this item, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.23, temporary stop sign on Kane Avenue at Donald Avenue. Councillor Nunziata.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.24, construction staging area 5251 Dundas Street West. Councillor Morley.
Moving staff recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Morley, Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.25, assumption of services, registered plan 66M-2535, 47 Eglinton Avenue West, Fernbrook Homes, Widdicombe Limited. I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.26, 80 Photography Drive, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.27, 15 Neighbourhood Lane, 3 Superior Avenue, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880. Councillor Morley.
Moving staff recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.28, 1755 Finch Avenue West, 2250 Finch Avenue West, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes. Councillor Pruzza.
I'm happy to move staff recommendations.
Councillor Pruzza moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.29, safety measures to increase pedestrian crossing safety at Browns Line and Jellicoe Avenue. That item is to be added as new business. All those in favor of adding the item as new business? And that carries. We do not have speakers registered on that.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion on this item.
Okay, so we'll hold that down and we'll get to that.
Okay. Thank you.
EY 9.30, traffic calming measures on Burnhamthorpe Road between Kipling Avenue and Dundas, I am advised, is out of order. So, Councillor Morley, did you catch that? Okay, thank you. EY 9.31 is traffic calming measures on Kingsway Crescent between Thorndale Avenue and Queen Anne Road. That requires a motion to add new business. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is added as new business. And so we will get to that. I believe there are speakers registered. And finally, there's one additional item, a matter of new business from Councillor Nunziata. So a motion to add that as new business from Councillor Nunziata. All those in favor? Any opposed? That has been added to the end of the order paper. All right, our first item is the EY 9.1, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18 Zorra Street zoning bylaw amendment application decision report. We have a speaker registered, and that is Adam Rogers. Is Adam here or online? Adam's online, okay. Adam, it's Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready to start. So hello everyone to this morning. I'll keep this nice and short. I think fundamentally this build is not necessarily out of step with the other builds in this area. I just raised this on the record that I believe that my central concern of all the builds in this area is just the fundamental lack of green space. I do appreciate that the city has been able to secure one small green space in that area, but with all of these builds that are coming in and the net concrete increase, we don't have that equivalent of green space. And I know I've spoken to the staff on this, and I understand that they're going to have a green roof of some of nature. But again, fundamentally, that's not the same as green space. And because of the nature of where this is located, south of the Queensway, the larger access to green space is on the north side of Queensway. So I think, and just because of the nature of how wide that street is, it just fundamentally for families that do move into this, they'll be really lacking in that area. And I think this is just a general observation, and I've spoke to the staff about this, but I think affordable housing in this area is just something that doesn't seem to be considered in a lot of these builds. And I get this build is probably not going to get this affordable housing, but I think as we have more folks moving into all these Ward 3 is that things are increasing. I think this is something that's going to have to be considered increasingly in a lot of these future builds. And then the last point I want to make, I just want to make sure that seeing it as the cost to install bicycle parking is a lot lower than actually installing parking spaces. I would like to see bicycle parking as close to 1-to-1 on almost any build. It's not going to increase the cost, especially if they make some sort of stacked bike parking for visitors, things of that nature. It won't really fundamentally increase the cost, but it will give more options for people who move into the area as we move to try to improve bicycle safety. Again, that's all I can say. I'll leave it to the council to decide if it should be approved on merits, but I think this is just a general trend in this area in specific, but in general, just considerations on green space for families moving in and also for affordability. This site doesn't have any affordable housing. I know before these were single family occupancy homes, but it is a consideration. If we keep building condos with no affordability, we will be expanding our housing stock, but we won't have that option for folks who need more additional options. That's all I have to add on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I'll check. Are there any other speakers on this item? There are not. Okay, questions of staff. Councillor Morley? No questions of staff. Councillor Morley to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for joining us today with those comments. I could definitely just confirm they are a very
Pardon me, Deputy Mayor Morley, we're just having a bit of trouble with your sound. The microphone seems to be cutting in and out, so maybe I just suggest just moving a bit closer. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Sounds
Hopefully
great now.
That helps. Great, and I will talk slower. But just wanting to echo the sentiments from the deputant, around having enough parking, including bike parking, and also working towards expanding green space in the community is something my office is very focused on. But at this time, we will be supporting staff recommendations on the particular item. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are there any members wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will call the vote. Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 9.2, 105 31st Street, zoning bylaw amendment application decision report. And just as a reminder, we are going to consider 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard just after this. But for the first round, we have speakers registered. Our first speaker is Adam Layton from Evans Planning. Welcome, Adam.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
You have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I could have the slideshow that we provided to the committee pulled up, I will keep my comments brief.
Staff advised, do you have a laptop or something to connect for that?
We do, but maybe I'll just use, is there an overhead I could use?
I'm being advised the overhead's not on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, I will forego. The materials are posted on the system. I might just go briefly through. In general, we're here today to speak to the combined redevelopment, although they are separate zoning files, for 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard West and 105 31st Street. This is at the corner of 31st Street and Lakeshore Boulevard on the southeast side of the street. 3471 Lakeshore is presently a one-story commercial building with large surface parking area both along Lakeshore and on the 31st Street frontage. 105 31st Street is a detached dwelling. What we are proposing is a zoning bylaw amendment to allow a 6-story, 19-unit mixed-use apartment building on 3471 Lakeshore and an 8-unit, 4-story stacked townhouse building on 105 31st Street. All units would share a driveway access off of 31st Street, as well as a combined parking supply, which would consist of 10 spaces within a mechanical parking system and a further 5 spaces at grade for visitor and accessible parking. The site statistics are well laid out in the staff report and as well as on our presentation. And one of the key changes I think that we've worked on with staff since the community meeting was held for this project back in 2020 is some refinements to the build form, including changing the development on 105 31st Street from an apartment building to stacked townhouse dwellings, resulted in a reduction of 2 units, as well as reconfiguring the parking lobby, bike parking, and commercial areas on 3471. In general, we support the recommendations of staff to proceed with the bylaw amendments. We feel that this is an appropriate form of missing middle housing and intensification that serves as a transition to the higher intensity forms along Lakeshore. There is a great variety of transit opportunities available, and we would be realizing the upgrading of the streetscape along 31st to include wider sidewalks, pedestrian calming measures in the form of bump outs at the intersection of Ash Crescent and 31st Street. There would be a variety of housing types provided, ranging up to 4-bedroom units. We feel that, particularly given the context of the property, there is a school across the street, a place of worship to the south, a multi-unit building to the east, and then, of course, on Lakeshore, a variety of mixed-use uses, that this serves as an appropriate transition. And we feel would also meet the intent of the city with their ongoing expanding housing options in neighborhoods or EHON project. I might reserve my time, if possible, to address any comments or questions that are brought up by any other speakers, but subject to that, I'm happy to answer any questions of the committee. Oh, and sorry, I should add, we are working with staff in Councillor Morley's office. We did identify a few technical matters in the draft zoning bylaws that accompany the report. However, we're happy to, in order to not hold up the process, endorse in principle the recommendations of staff, and we're going to try and work with the councillor's office to implement those as an amendment at council.
Thank you. And I regret that the logistics didn't work out for the presentation, so you're always welcome to submit that as correspondence.
Yeah.
Questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Our next speaker is Steve Vella. Is Steve here or online? Okay. Hi, Steve.
Hi,
It's Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Let me just share a document here. Share.
Okay, Steve, you can start when you're ready. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. You can see the document?
Yes.
Thank you. We have read, my name is Stephen Vella. I'm the Vice Chair of the Long Branch Neighbourhood Association. We have read the decision report for these two items and have the following comments. We are concerned that the precedent of assembling two lots will set in Long Branch. The developer is asking that 3471 Lakeshore, a commercial lot on an avenue, absorb a residential lot 105 31st Street in a neighborhood. Both applications are dependent on each other. As such, are being considered as one development split into two applications. We acknowledge the applicant has reduced their request from 10 units for 105 31st Street, but this still is double the 4 units that are permitted in neighborhoods. We have been assured that this is not a precedent-setting application. However, after reading the major street study, lot assembly is being considered as a policy amendment where neighborhood properties abutting properties on major streets and shows a limit of 4 units. One of the goals of intensification was to protect inappropriate development in neighborhoods, and this application, as a precedent, works against that. In our experience, development is precedent-based. If approved, this may complete the corner from a planning perspective, but from a neighborhood perspective, combining an avenue property with a local property is starting the corner. Ash is a unique street on a long block that has north-south lanes for access to Lakeshore. The long block runs parallel to Lakeshore, and in light of the existing lot configuration and the major street study, if this application is approved, the homeowners on Ash do not have any assurances that lot assembly will not continue. In 2012, 76 Ash Crescent was the first severance in Long Branch and was approved through an OMB decision by member M.A. Mills. In his decision, he said, undoubtedly preserving the character of the neighborhood is of utmost importance to local residents. The apparent fear is that allowing the property to be severed will establish a precedent, which will entirely change the makeup of their neighborhood. The board finds there is no basis for such a motion, and these concerns amount to little more than an apprehension of impact. Well, the residents of Long Branch know that the apprehension was founded. More affordable bungalows continued to be transformed into the most expensive housing on the market and fuel the affordability crisis, pushing out the people that could live in them. Permitting double the units on a property and the precedent of lot assembly between avenues and neighborhoods does not protect neighborhoods from speculation and continual removal of more affordable housing to create the most expensive property on the street. Without the neighborhoods policy of 4.1.5 and LPA 320 establishing the definition of prevailing physical character and the clarification offered with council approval of the Long Branch character guidelines, this land speculation would have continued unchecked. We support the zoning bylaw amendment for 3471 Lakeshore in principle as it supports the site and area specific plan 21 and puts density on the avenue. We also acknowledge that the unit diversity for Lakeshore property has improved to include more family units, which are very important to support diverse neighborhoods, and will also hopefully lessen the need for more parking by decreasing the number of households. We still have concerns about the lift parking as it seems aspirational and do not have any expertise on its impacts to a neighborhood. We also acknowledge that the no left turn in the morning hours will serve as a test to improve the safety at the corner. However, we do not think this goes far enough. This corner has been referred to as a failing corner by city staff. There are several visual impediments on this corner, including a TTC shelter on a median, angled parking, and intermittent visual block when the eastbound TTC streetcar stops at the shelter. Special skills are required to negotiate this turn in the form of a lane-by-lane clearing from 31st Street. We propose no left turns during AM and PM rush hours. Once the change is made, there should be a TSP resource dedicated to this site for an appropriate amount of time to educate drivers before ticketing infractions. We'd also recommend that this corner be further studied after the change to assess the consequences of this change and further measures to improve safety for the residents and the school. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions of the speaker? Steve, can I ask you to stop sharing just so it's a little easier for me to see Deputy Mayor Morley? Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Are there other members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will go to questions of staff. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to staff. I just wanted to pick up the last point that Mr. The lift parking. This is not technology community as of yet. And I mean, I've personally seen it in downtown. So
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, if I may interrupt you, I apologize, but you are breaking up again. For some reason, the sound is cutting in and out. You may have to share.
I'm gonna pop the video off. Hopefully that helps a little bit, and I'll lean right in. I'll try to keep it brief, but I just wanted to ask staff specifically around the proposed parking technology. What is the expected lifetime of equipment like the one that's being proposed for inclusion on this site? Or maybe the developer, for them to respond, they might know.
So Mr. Nicolucci's just making his way to the podium to answer that.
Great, thank you.
Through the chair. So if I heard the question correctly, Councillor Morley or Deputy Mayor Morley is asking how long the expected life expectancy is for the parking system that is being used?
Correct.
I don't have the expertise to determine that, but I would guess that it would probably go more or less with the life cycle of the development itself. Maybe the developer can add or shed more light to that question.
That's helpful, Luigi. Thank you. And just while I have you, maybe second question is just whether or not there are other sites in the city that use this or similar technology or similar system for parking.
Through the chair, there are a number of other sites in the city where this type of technology is used. They are becoming a little bit more common over the last few years because as the more larger sites get used up and we get more constrained sites, then to provide the parking spaces that are required, then proponents have to consider these types of parking systems. So they are becoming more popular slowly, but they are becoming more popular over time, yes.
That's helpful, thank you. And just my final question is, with respect to EV charging and EV chargers, are they compatible with stacked parking like what we're seeing proposed here?
Through the chair, my apologies, Deputy Mayor. I didn't understand the question correctly. You were cutting in and out. You were asking, if I heard you correctly, whether the EV spaces are compatible with staff parking. Is that accurate?
EV chargers, are they compatible with the stacked parking technology?
Through the chair, they require a certain amount of EV parking spaces. I would assume that the electrical system that's required to accommodate EV spaces can be wired through the stacked parking systems.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Hey, don't go away.
I'm earning my pay for today.
I'll just check. Are there other questions? All right, I'll pass the chair to Councillor Nunziata, just for a couple of quick ones.
Councillor Holiday, questions.
Thank you, Mr. Nicolucci. I was interested in the stacked parking. So do they count one for the required parking that's codified in the bylaws?
Through the chair, that is correct.
So I think, if I got it right, it's 15 on the adjacent site on Lakeshore, because this site is sharing.
That is correct, through the chair.
So there's a combination of traditional parking and lifter parking. So in that picture that the resident showed us, each of those spots is 2.
Through the chair, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So if the unit breaks or fails to work or wears out, does that not put them in violation of their zoning bylaw?
Through the chair, I guess technically the answer is yes. Unfortunately, we in transportation services don't have enforcement staff to go out there and check whether they are in full operation.
Okay, so nobody can change their mind in 20 years and say, well, we'd take this thing away all of a sudden. That's codified in the bylaw. They'd have to go to seek relief from the bylaw. As well, could it be also put into the site plan? So if there's an issue with it, it also is covered by the site plan, that it has to be there.
Through the chair, I guess through the site plan approval process, we could try and secure that by putting adequate notations on a site plan drawing. Once the site plan drawings are approved, they have to comply with those drawings. So if we secure notations on there or come up with some sort of agreement, then I guess we could have something with a little bit more teeth to enforce that. But it does become an enforcement matter at that point. If the parking stacker is not operational, they are in non-compliance.
So if this, let's assume this is a condo, not a rental building, because that would be a different enforcement track. But if it was a condo building and one of the units broke, they might be short a parking spot or two, then that would be something that would become bylaw enforcement.
Either that, through the chair, sorry, either that or the person or the owner of that space physically purchased it, I would assume, under the condo application, then they would have to lobby the condo board to make sure the parking stacker is fixed properly.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
No
you.
other questions? Okay. Deputy Mayor Morley to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we'll be moving the current staff recommendation on this report. And as mentioned by the applicant, there are some technical amendments that have been recommended, but we just want a little bit more time to do our due diligence on those. So we won't be moving them at this time. And strictly
Okay. Anyone else to speak on this matter? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Thank you. EY 9 pardon me. The clerk is reminding me. EY 9.7, 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard West zoning bylaw amendment application decision report. We have two speakers. Adam, welcome back. It's been a long time. Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I've already made my presentation, so perhaps I'll answer some of the questions that were posed. Specifically, I'm advised we provided a list of a number of installations of a similar system across the city to staff. But in general, my understanding is that these systems function very similar to any other elevator. They are inspected on a monthly basis. The materials or equipment that needs to be replaced or repaired is done so at the time. And in this case, I believe it's a condominium tenure that's contemplated, so that would be part of the standard condominium budget. In terms of some of the comments that were made by the Ratepayers Association, I would simply follow up to say that I don't believe this would set a precedent in the community. In particular, as I've noted, this is a very unusual context along what I would classify as a collector road out to Lakeshore, which is surrounded by institutional or mixed use or multiple unit residences. And I would also suggest that the purpose of the zoning bylaw, at least with respect to 105 31st Street, is in order to recognize the need to specifically permit townhouses, 8 units in the bylaw. We're not seeking to rely on the multiplex zoning that presently permits 4 stories across the city, so that is the intent there. But I might also suggest that some of the traffic issues would be addressed by the reduction in parking that is being proposed. And we are continuing to work with staff to realize the interventions that can be undertaken, at least by our client, to help improve the intersection and the pedestrian-oriented nature of this street.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Timothy Dobson. Is Timothy with us here in the chamber or online?
Can you hear now?
Is that Timothy?
Yes.
Hi, Timothy.
Fine.
Stephen Holiday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay. Well, I've actually applied to speak at the 105 matter that you just previously considered, so I'll try to combine my comments. And that is, I have no objection to the intensification on 3471, but as I understand the initial application, which I participated in 2020, that combining the two lots was specifically because of the parking. And I do have concerns about the parking, the stack parking. I understand the technical issues and that it's technically possible, but I acknowledge your concern about if a mechanism fails to operate, how that's going to impact the parking locally. What I do have a concern with is how this double lot application is being stretched to Ash Crescent, and that it does start to impede on the character of the neighborhood. And so my position is that the intensification should be limited to the lakeshore frontage, and the 4-story stacked townhouses would be like out of character at the 105 site. And so I don't know whether, I think because of the constraints of the site, the parking would have to go underground under 105 lot to the benefit of 3471. And it's probably possible for that to be symbiotic, but I believe that the proposal, how it is now in stretching the density and continuous built form of 4-story stacked townhouses to Ash Crescent on 105 31st Street exceeds the reasonableness of the intensification goals, which city has asked to be focused on the avenues. And there's plenty of opportunities to intensification. And the council may note that a lot not too far from 3471 was applied for a single-story structure, which has as of right to go to 6 stories, even possibly to 8, and they've only applied for a 2-story structure. So we're getting a mismatch of density on some of these lots that are already as of right going to 6 stories on Lakeshore Avenue. And now we see with this application, they're trying to stretch it with rear lots facing Ash Crescent. And so the previous speaker for the Long Branch Neighborhood Association wisely commented about the risks, the precedent that sets, particularly when some of these streets are so close to Lakeshore Avenue in parallel, that those double lots depth could start to create a density creep. And I don't think that would fit the character of the neighborhood. Also, the left turn traffic, I agree with the previous speaker, especially during prime hours. That 31st and Lakeshore is notorious for accidents. And I hear the sirens all the time because I'm right across the street and I see the accidents. So I would recommend for the council that the density for 3471 be limited to that site. It's possible to share the parking underneath, but the townhouse stretching that they're proposing on 105 Street, 31st Street exceeds the reasonableness of what should transpire for density intensification, and that it should be limited to a 3-story structure and certainly lot split, or not lot split, but not a continuous block of building, which is what is proposed right now. And certainly the second deep row of the townhouses in 105 31st Street will definitely start to impact the abutting property, which unfortunately those are apartment buildings as well with these deep parking lots. And neither of those were really compatible when they were proposed in the 1950s and 60s. And I'll finish my presentation at that point.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, I will ask, thank you for joining us, Timothy. I'll ask, are there any other speakers on this item? Okay, questions of staff? Seeing none to speak, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, similarly to this application that we just dealt with be moving staff recommendations at this time.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Okay. Back up to the top of the list, EY 9.3, 1240 to 1250 Weston Road, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and rental housing demolition applications. We do have several speakers. Our first speaker is Peter Frampton from the Learning Enrichment Foundation. Is Peter here or online? Online.
There we are.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
You've
Thank
got
you.
5 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Well, dear councillors, I think it's fair to say that never before, except perhaps after the Great Wars, have we seen such a housing crisis. At every community meeting, indeed every meeting, the angst of Torontonians of all incomes is palatable, and I must say their fears are reasonable. A year and a half ago, we came before you with our OBA ZBA application for 1240 to 1250 Western Road. Your support then, as is now, has been clear and forthright, underpinning a determination to get something extraordinary built in Ward 12 in Mount Dennis, an area of unprecedented growth and need. Councillor Nunziata, we must take a moment to thank you for your unwavering faith in the Learning Enrichment Foundation to not only take on this project, but trusting that we will always do so with community and the long-term interests of the community we have served for over 40 years. Thank you, Councillor, for being our champion. We will rely on your leadership again today. We also want to take a moment and thank the multitude of city staff who've weighed in on our application. The fast tracking of this project has put strains on us all, and for it to be fast tracked in an era of such violent regulatory changes in the rules of engagement adds stress for us all. But I assure you it is necessary if we are to find the resources to get things built. This project is the only affordable housing community project currently being proposed in a neighborhood that will see over 20,000 new residents descend in the next decade. It's a flea bite in the bay of funding. Throughout the process, LEF has made a number of commitments, and we remain true to them as we take our next steps towards site plan approval and confirming the financial commitments we require from all orders of government. We will continue to converse with the community at every step, gaining their direct input before bringing recommendations forward to the city for final design and build. As a partner with the City of Toronto in this project, we also chose not to exercise our right of appeal to the Land Tribunal, but rather to rely upon the collective wisdom of community and city staff to come up with the proposal as it stands before you today. This, I would like to underscore, I believe, is development done differently. Over the course of the past 2 years, realities have changed dramatically. Building costs have literally doubled, interest rates are actively eating up resources, all the while we're trying to create, all of us together, space for all, as well as supportive and affordable housing that are essential to the vibrancy of Mount Dennis. These changes have been further impacted by Bill 23 and other dramatic policy changes. And so we're going to have to work closely together to make this project, indeed all citywide affordable housing projects, actually happen. And that's why we're proposing a number of recommendations through the councillor. Some changes to the staff report to lay a foundation so that the possible can become a reality, and to encourage the direct, timely, and aggressive investment from all levels of government. Neither LEF nor the community nor the city want to sit on 3 properties with such potential. In the spirit of Council's recently approved generational transformation of Toronto housing system to urgently build more affordable homes, we are asking staff to work with us to secure the necessary funding and financing resources from all levels of government to support longer and deeper affordability for as many of the 175 units as possible. We are asking that our project also be considered a candidate to receive future community benefits funding derived from the many new residential developments in Mount Dennis. Planning staff through this process has taken upon themselves to secure the rights of existing tenants, and we applaud that. We agree wholeheartedly to secure the right of every individual that is currently in the building to return. That is who we are. We are well positioned to work with returning residents and ensure that upon their return, they have access to the necessary support services and partners. This protects individual rights, and it recognizes LEF as dedicated to building a strong, vibrant community starting in on moving day. So once again, we just want to thank you all for your support. Thank the staff for their support and the commitment to build something extraordinary that will become the center of what will become a new neighborhood as we grow to over 30,000 people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Are there any questions of the speaker?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I want to remind Peter it's Ward 5, not Ward 12.
Oh, sorry. I'm still stuck in the old days.
Thanks, Peter. Our next speaker is Amina Yassin Omar. Thank you. I'm advised that Amina is elected not to speak, so we'll go to the next speaker, Robert Walter Joseph from Gladkey Planning Associates.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Robert. You've got 5 minutes. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Chair and members of Community Council. I will be brief, as Peter Frampton has so eloquently spoken to this application. My name is Robert Walter Joseph. I'm a senior planner with Gladkey Planning Associates. I would like to thank Councillor Nunziata and her staff for their support throughout this process. I would also like to thank city staff who, in recognition of funding timelines for nonprofit affordable housing developments like this one, provided their timely review of submitted materials and made themselves available to meet with members of the proponent's design team as we addressed planning and development considerations. I would like to especially thank members of housing policy, community planning, and urban design, so thank you all. Who worked with us through this process. As you know, through the staff report, a mix of affordable community development is proposed on the property, including retail, nonprofit community services, a mix of purpose-built rental, and social housing operated by the Learning Enrichment Foundation. A 14-story building is contemplated, including a total of 175 units, including 20 rental replacement units, retail space, and community space, which will be shared and operated by the Learning Enrichment Foundation and nonprofit community serving partners. A total of 18 parking spaces will be provided below ground as well. We have reviewed the staff report and are supportive of the recommendations provided by staff. I would like, however, to note two specific considerations in the zoning bylaw. The project must comply with the terms of funding provided by the CMHC in the delivery of a certain proportion of overall residential space relative to non-residential space. So provision H3 of the draft zoning bylaw, which sets a specific gross floor area for recommendations, we would recommend, that provision set a maximum of a 25% proportion of the GFA to be non-residential in order to ensure flexibility as we continue through the detailed design process in complying with CMHC requirements for funding. Similarly, we would recommend the removal of M4 and 5 regarding convertible and adaptable design measures. I'm available for any questions that Community Council may have, and thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
The message on the screen is your battery's running low. I promise you it's not mine. Now it's gone. I guess it's okay. Next speaker is Nilan Brizendin. Nilan's online.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Nilan. It's Stephen Holliday. We can hear you very clearly at the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and Councillors for giving me the opportunity to speak on this matter. My name is Nilan Brizendin, and I live on Somerville Avenue, And in the interest of full transparency, I work with the Mount Dennis Business Improvement Area, but I'm speaking today on my own behalf. I've been a resident of Mount Dennis for about 8 years, and I'm quite involved in the local community with different community groups and advocacy issues. I know LEF and believe the work they do is very important for our community. I've had the opportunity to participate in a number of their community meetings, and I appreciate their organization's role as a hub for our neighborhood. It's been a pleasure to work with Peter and Amina, and I truly respect their work to make Mount Dennis a livable and equitable community for all our residents. I would like to commend LEF for working with the community on this development, as well as including affordable housing and community space. I look forward to the activations and spaces that will be available in the development, as well as improvements to the streetscape that are so desperately needed here in Mount Dennis. I appreciate that LEF has treated the community with respect and as a partner throughout this process. LEF has held a number of community meetings in regards to this development, even hosting a special meeting for the residents of Somerville Avenue at our request. I'm confident that LEF will continue to consult and engage with the community as the development moves forward. I'm pleased to support LEF's application. I would, however, like to highlight a few concerns that are shared by many of us in our community. I know with the transit coming in that it is important to build housing near transit hubs, and I am supportive of intensification near Mount Dennis Station. We are concerned, however, about the availability of parking and traffic safety. I would like to request that the city look at traffic in the community while considering not just the LEF development, but also all the other towers along Weston Road near Eglinton Avenue. I would also like to request that the Ray Avenue, Somerville Avenue, and Weston Road jog be studied with consideration for the existing traffic lights to include Somerville Avenue. I would also like the city to look at parking solutions for our community. For example, Somerville Avenue already has a waiting list for on-street parking, and the demand is only going to increase dramatically. Finally, I would like to emphasize that while I support the intensification in our neighborhood, and specifically the Learning Enrichment Foundation's development, I am quite concerned about the general lack of affordable housing, rent control, and community consultation for the other looming developments that have gone directly to the Land Tribunal. I'm quite concerned that many of our longtime residents are at risk of being displaced by this intensification. I would like to urge the city and council to work to engage the Mount Dennis community and consider ways to protect our most vulnerable residents and use LEF's engagement process and willingness to work with our community as the standard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. We have one more speaker on my list here. That is Garfield Burnbridge from CMHA Toronto. Garfield's online.
Hello.
Hi, Garfield. It's Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, they can.
And we can hear you. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak today about this important project. I am Garfield Bembridge, the Chief Organizational Officer at Canadian Mental Health Association, Toronto. I am here today to speak in favor of this proposed amendment to the zoning bylaw related to 124050 Weston Road. For many years, we have been housing and supporting a small group of our clients at 1240 Weston Road. We want to let you know that we have an excellent working relationship with the current property owner, LEF. We have been an active participant in the partnership planning sessions for this redevelopment. We are strongly in favor of this development as it adds much needed, safe and affordable housing to this part of the city. We believe the terms set out in the amendment meets our expectation for the future care of our clients. Mr. Chair, Our sector recognizes the deep and broad impacts the housing supply and affordability crisis is having on our community, especially those that are marginalized and have associated health challenges such as mental health and addiction issues. Once again, Mr. Chair, on behalf of CMHA Toronto, I want to reiterate our shared commitment along with the Learning and Enrichment Foundation and the city to this amazing development. We are actually looking forward to this. It's going to be really amazing for the neighborhood. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Garfield. Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, questions of staff. Seeing none, Councillor Nunziata to speak.
Thank you. So I do have a number of motions that staff has, actually quite a few, so I'm not going to go through all the motions. So if we can present them, yeah. And in one particular motion that as far as the residents on Sunnybrae, I'm moving that motion that future residents would not be able to park on Sunnybrae. And that was a similar motion that I put forward previously with all the other development applications. So just to speak, and I want to thank everyone for coming here and making a deputation. And thank you to LEF, Peter Frampton. Special thanks to the planning staff. I know they've been working on this project for quite a while. And special thanks to Sean Gatton, that's worked very closely on this project, and that has been very instrumental in speaking to the Housing Secretariat and as well as planning staff in some of these motions. We're working with Sean Gatton and the staff. So just to give you, I'm just going to speak briefly, just to give you a bit of history of the Mount Dennis quilt. The Learning Enrichment Foundation, as was mentioned by Peter, has been part of the Mount Dennis neighborhood for the past 40 years, working to provide programs that enable individuals and families to contribute to their community's social and economic development. LEF services include child care programs, skills training, language training, employment services, settlement officers, entrepreneurship, and youth services. Just about 4 years ago, LEF purchased 3 properties, 1240, 46, and 1250 Western Road, with the hopes of redeveloping them one day and calling them home. And that's actually right next door to our new daycare center that the city is building, which is very convenient. And we have the Eglinton line and the Up and the Go just down the street. The Mount Dennis Quilt Project reflects 40 years of observations into the needs and dreams of the community. It envisions a 14-story multi-use building, which will offer a vibrant streetscape as well as a community space on the first few floors. Above that, affordable rental residence, which will have access to much-needed supports through other community partners. Since embarking on this venture, LEF has hosted 5 community conversation sessions to engage the community in setting a vision for the building. Community needs and vision March 2021, Streetscape Co-Design July 2021, What is Possible in Height October 2021, Community Programming Space March 2022, and Update on Zoning Applications September 2023. LEF has been engaging its partner agencies to co-design the space, and LEF's community partners include Community Living, Toronto Mortgage Support Services, York West Active Living Center, Government House, and Indus Community Services. The Mount Dennis Quilt is an inspiring, collaborative, and creative project focused on using physical spaces to improve the outcome of people from a variety of supportive situations. With its partners, the residential program and administrative spaces, the Quilt would allow LEF to fulfill its long-time goal to expand its holistic approach to include housing and offer meaningful support services all in one central location in Mount Dennis. And I'm looking forward to the revitalization of Mount Dennis. There are a number of development applications that have been submitted in, and we've been working very hard with the community on revitalizing Mount Dennis, which is going to be a very prosperous community with all new retail coming in, residential, affordable housing. So thank you to council. And I'm moving my motions and moving the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none. On Councillor Nunziata's, help me, Madam Clerk, there's how many amendments? There's 4. On the first motion, amending a motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. On the second amending a motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. On the third amending motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. On the fourth amending motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And on the item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, EY 9.4, 301 Dixon Road, zoning amendment application, decision report. We have registered speakers. Our first speaker is Jack Shapiro. Is Jack here or online? Online.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Jack. It's Stephen
Hello.
Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. We can hear you. Please begin when you're ready. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, well, at 301 Dixon Road, we have a number of problems which the property owners are not taking seriously. For the last 10 days, we had no intercom working. This morning it wasn't working. This afternoon now it is working. We have 3 elevators that one of them wasn't working about 10 days ago on a Saturday, and we only had 1 elevator that we could use. Why? Because they had one of the caretakers was washing floors and all this, so he took one of the elevators out of service. So for the entire day, we had only 1 elevator for the entire apartment building. This is the type of thing which goes on continuously. Also, we were promised when they closed off our balconies to paint our building black and white, that we would be compensated for all the dust and pollution. We never got that. They promise a whole lot of things, but they don't deliver. Now, getting to 301 Dixon Road, the new proposed 8-story building, that's on a floodplain. And the thing is that we have a creek right beside our building, and it's part of an underground river system. So if they start digging, where are they going to put the water? On the streets and into the sewers, which will be over plugged with water. It would be mud water, I guess. The other thing too is that they want to remove 23 trees, I believe it is. They sent a notice by the site building placard that they would be removing 4 trees and then another 4 trees plus another 19 trees, but they didn't give any proper notice to the people. This was done through the urban forestry, so they're kind of sneaky about the way they're doing things. Now, the thing is this, that if they remove those 23 trees in front of the building, these trees absorb the pollution, which is quite evident when you have rush hour traffic on Dixon Road. So to remove those trees, they say, well, we're going to put up trees to replace some of them, but they're talking about stick trees, which will die anyway for the most part. And the ones that survive, are these going to be coniferous or deciduous trees or a combination of the two which we have right now? Now, the problem with those trees is that they have absorbed an awful lot of the water underground to grow and grow and grow. But the thing is this, that they remove those trees, which they definitely plan on doing, we're not going to have any shade. We're not going to have any, any atmosphere there. Also, the fact is that when they do that, they're putting up an 8-story building in front of our existing building. It's going to affect an awful lot of people through noise and pollution. What are people going to do that live right on Dixon Road direction? They're going to have to seal off their units. They won't be able to use their balconies, and they'll have an awful lot of problems. They're not compensating us for any of this in the past. In fact, they have proposed to raise our rent by 5.5% for the year of January the 1st, 2024. So they're all gung-ho about charging us more and giving us less. So I'm not in favor of that. And I did speak to Mr. Hahn about this, and he says, well, basically speaking, come hell or high water, they're going to force the issue and they're going to build on that lot, which I think is wrong. Now, there are other places that I've seen. Matter of fact, Queens Plate Drive and Rexdale Boulevard, there is massive land there. All they have is chips of stone there. It's been like that for the last couple of years. So that would be probably a good place to start building, high-rise apartment buildings. But I don't know, nothing's being done there, but they want to have the density of population here. And there's a pyramid scheme. What's going to happen when they get that done? They're going to try to force their way into putting in more buildings in the Toronto area. So it's not going to affect us right now, so-called speaking, but it actually will. The other thing, too, is the police and ambulance and fire trucks come by here all the time, and if they have any more density of population, there's going to be more crime, and the police are basically getting sick and tired of coming to the rescue people as it is right now because that's their job to do. But they're overtaxed with the problem that we have right now, density of population and crime.
Thank you,
The speed limit on
Mr.
Dixon Road used to be.
Mr. Shapiro.
the
Your
speed limit on
your
Dixon
time
Road-
is your time is elapsed. Do you have any final comments?
Well, I don't think they should put in the building in front of 301 Dixon Road.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. I will ask the next speaker to come forward, and that is Len Abelman from WZMH Architects. Is Len here or online?
Hi, everyone. Is it possible to share my screen while I speak?
Yes. You should have an option to do that, I believe. It's coming, I'm advised. There you go. We can see the renderings of the building. Len,
Okay, thanks, everyone.
welcome to the Community Council. You've got 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay, thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. My name's Len Abelman from WZMH Architects. I'm representing the owner of the land, Starlight Developments. I'm the architect who designed the new building, and I also want to thank city staff who've worked with us over the last 2 years collaboratively to bring this towards a final recommendation report. What we're proposing is an 8-story residential building on Dixon Road with 145 new rental units. The new building is situated approximately 20 meters away from the existing rental building, which is not being touched. And we've tried to insert this as sensitively as possible into the neighborhood. If you see the plan on screen now, so what we've done is we've pushed the building towards the corner of Dixon and Wincott Drive, trying to maintain a large separation between the existing building. And part of what we're doing is also trying to create a new courtyard between the existing building and the new one, which is with an outdoor amenity for the existing and new tenants, which is also adjacent to a new indoor amenity located in the building. The intent is to actually improve the experience of tenants in the building by creating more indoor and outdoor amenity for them and creating some enclosure from Dixon Road against all the noise and sound from Dixon Road, which comes through right now to the existing building. And by enclosing it, we create this courtyard. We're also proposing a mid-block connection on the ground floor through this building, so existing residents can actually walk right through the building and get to the bus stop on Dixon Road, so it doesn't inconvenience them. We're also proposing on leaving the current access from Dixon Road as well as the current drop-off also, so it doesn't impede the existing residents. Just in terms of city guidelines, what's noted in the approval report is that the building complies with the mid-rise guidelines by City of Toronto. We fall under an angular plane from Dixon Road. There's also suitable setbacks from the existing building. So we have really worked hard to try and comply with guidelines, and that is what we've done as noted in the report. We've also worked hard on with the city on the actual design of the building, the massing and articulation. We've tried to take the form of the building and break it up, use some of the brick found in the existing neighborhood and place it on the base of the building to create a pleasant street edge, as well as this beautiful landscape courtyard that falls between the current and the existing building. And what you see here is a view of that courtyard and then looking down through to Dixon Road. I'll just try in the 2 minutes left to answer some of the concerns. So first of all, part of the site is impacted by a floodplain, but the location where the new building is proposed is not inside that floodplain. It's on a dry area of the site. And during our application, this was coordinated with the city as well as the TRCA, who had no concerns with flooding in this location. Secondly, we've worked very hard with urban forestry. We've moved the buildings multiple times to try and retain as many trees as possible. And since the initial application, we are saving a lot of large trees on the site. And we are also, there's a lot of replanting of trees to try and make up for what is being removed. Secondly, visitor parking, we're not touching the existing visitor parking. There's a lot of visitor parking that's being left. I think it's 24 spaces to the side of the building. All the new parking for the building and its new tenants is below grade. And we put it underground so that it doesn't impact the landscape open space available. Just on behalf of Starlight, there have been a few meetings with tenants where they've tried to listen to their concerns and alleviate them. Also, what Starlight wants to mention is that since they bought this building, they've invested money in it, and the current rent safe score with City of Toronto is 94%. So there has actually been an effort to improve the building. And finally, just to work with tenants during construction, at site plan application stage, we will put together a construction mitigation plan so that during construction, we can try and alleviate concerns of residents for noise and dust and try and deal with them. But the new proposed building is 22, at the shortest point is 20 meters away from the existing building, and at the larger is over 25. So there is really an attempt to work with residents and to alleviate their concerns moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abelman. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our third speaker is, and forgive me if I don't pronounce it right, Nick Bailey. Is Nick in the chamber or is Nick online?
Hello, I'm online.
Hi, Nick. It's Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. We can hear you clearly. Please, you have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much. I'm with the first speaker who spoke against, I think, Mr. Sherman, the proposed building. Just so everybody's clear, they're proposing to build an 8-story apartment building on an existing land of an apartment building that is 17 stories large and contains 225 units. It's completely illogical. I understand Ontario needs to increase housing for, the arrival of immigrants and our policies and such and such and such, but I think this is really an untoward way to do so. It's as if I asked everybody who's a city councilor member on their own properties, how about I put a little cart garage in your backyard or front lawn and make it a 1-bedroom apartment for an arriving tenant. Now, I know you're the homeowner, so it's different. I'm just a tenant, and I pay to the new corporate owner. It's a corporation ownership of this building, and they want to put a huge building on the present property with, floodplain. Having lived here, that that floods the back parking area touches Dixon Road, where they're proposing to dig. Not being having grown up in construction, I wonder while they're digging if there's a flood just due to regular rainfall, if that's going to affect the integrity of 301 Dixon Road itself, its footings, its foundations, because the wash away from the flooding is unbelievable. It does go to that present structure, by the way. I've seen it with my own eyes 5 times, at least in the past 10 years. So now they've promised a lot, and they've painted, and which is great, the present owners of the building, but garbage enclosures have not been addressed, and it looks like a dump where most people enter. So I'm not really confident that we're going to get a return look and a nod from the present corporate owners of the building. As an example, it was said in the motion about 301 Dixon Road that the full costs of every improvement that they had to make to 301 in order to get this plan amended, this planning amendment for a new building, they had to do X, Y, and Z at their own cost. However, I've just received a 5.9% increase above the guideline increase. So that shows me that they're not willing to absorb any costs, and they're going to pass it off to the tenants. That it's clear. I have the form right here in front of me, 5.9% increase, which is way above the increase of the tenancy. Anyways, to move on. Sound transmission class, STC ratings, I wonder about that. It's going to be loud. That corner of Islington and Wincott, okay, you have to cross Dixon Road to attend 3 different children's public and Catholic schools. And all the residents that have kids and have to cross the street there, it's going to be impossible. I don't know how they're going to cross the street with a construction going on of an 8-story building. So these are a lot of single parent children, families, and it just creates a lot more difficulties. So, that's an issue, I would say. Not to mention the removal, as the previous gentleman said, of these, these trees are 100 years old. They're part of the heritage of this city. There's probably about, I'd say 25 trees that are like about 12 stories high. Evergreens, that have been here for 100 years, I would say at least. So this is just something anathema to what I think is really a positive movement in the living of this neighborhood. There are 7 buildings between Wincott and Kipling on the south side, and 10 on the north side, and another one on an existing property makes no sense to me whatsoever. I just see it as a corporate grab. Sorry to say it as such, but it's true. And I guess that's all I want to say for the moment.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us today. I will ask, are there any other speakers to this item? Seeing none, we will take it into committee. Are there any questions of staff? I do have a couple. I pass the chair. Deputy Chair or Vice Chair, if I may pass the chair to you, sir.
Deputy Chair is here and vigilant, and yes, you may.
Thank you.
Please proceed. You've started the clock. Fantastic.
Thank you. The speakers covered a number of topics, but there's a couple of themes that I'll just ask generally questions of. I'll open that to whatever staff is available to take the answer. The first question was just about infill on apartment sites, and I just wondered what our official plan tells Community Council and Council about what is okay and what isn't when infilling space on an apartment land site.
Back to you, Mr. Chair. There is encouragement for tower and the park sites that have sufficient land area to for applicants to consider, the owners of those lands, to consider framing the edges of those spaces along the street. So usually with lower scale development as a way of appropriately infilling these tower and the park locations. So that's the encouragement that's in the plan.
Okay, the second general theme was just about the floodplain, and I am familiar with the lands behind it and the large storm sewer outlet that goes into the tributary for the Humber River. I just wondered, without getting into all the technical, generally speaking, what does our planning process do to address these very, very significant concerns, and what checks and balances do we have as this unfolds through the approvals process to make sure that A, the existing building is kept safe, but also B, the residents of the community around this site are kept safe with respect to the impacts of the development on stormwater?
Thank you, Chair. Back to you. So as part of the normal review process, we would circulate such a proposal, for example, to the TRCA. I can tell you, staff advised me that the area where the proposal is located is not in the floodplain. It's outside of it, and no concerns were raised by the TRCA in this circumstance.
Thank you. The third thing that came up with both of the community speakers was the removal of trees. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the evolution of this application and what we do as a city, because this comes up often on development sites. How do we deal with the removal of trees and balance the ability to create more housing with trying to protect trees in the city, just in general terms?
To you, Mr. Chair, and perhaps Parks, Forestry, and Rec staff may want to add to this, but generally when we see these kinds of developments, they unfortunately do have an impact on existing trees. Sometimes those trees are quite mature, and every effort is made to develop a landscape plan associated with the new development that introduces or brings back to the area where there is availability for trees a sufficient number or size of trees to help make up that difference. There's no getting around, though, that sometimes there's a loss of these mature trees. But thought is given to how we can landscape the lands after the development's built.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of staff? Seeing none to speak, any members? Seeing none, I will pass the chair to the vice chair as I will speak on this item.
Start the clock and you may go.
Thank you. I have a motion. Hopefully it's ready to go. It's lengthy, but I'll just explain it. The first one is a technical change that I had developed in consultation with staff about dealing with a particular walkway on the site. The second is a very routine motion, although it's slightly different today, but it has to do with parking on infill sites, and given the limited availability of parking in the Etobicoke Center, I moved this on just about every application as of late, and that ensures that folks cannot expect or begin to install on-street parking within the community, and I was very clear with that with people that asked me about it. In other words, the developer has the onus to ensure that they have enough parking to look after their development. And finally, what I ask is that warning clauses go in to the documentation so that people, and I think in this case it's a rental building, but if it was a purchased building, they are advised that they can't go ahead and expect to have on-street parking. And the new thing that I've added is just, again, another warning clause that lets people know where and the applicant will have to fill it in the final documentation, the 5 closest locations for off-street parking for residents and visitors, just so that their expectations can be managed. So it's a warning clause. It doesn't require action, just only that it's added to the documentation along with the others. With that, I will thank everybody that has worked collectively on this application including Daniel Hahn, the planner, who has been very, very diligent in tracking many of the concerns raised by the community. It is a complicated application because it is an infill one, and it is in a very busy community on a very busy site with lots of parking challenges. And so, to the extent possible, these things have been built into the consideration of this application. There are some existing background issues that remain. I'm certainly available as the local councillor to address those as they come up. For instance, dealing with parking situations on Wincott, I think there's always room to improve, but I also didn't want to make changes on the community council floor to the parking situation without exploring that further with the community. So I'm most certainly available to the constituents of Ward 2 Etobicoke Centre, in addition to dealing with other things such as pedestrian considerations. So with that, again, thank you to everybody involved, including the community members that did take the time to contact either my office or community planning with their concerns. And I will ask that we call a vote, and I believe it's a singular amendment, Madam Clerk. So on the amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And on the item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries.
Mr. Chairman, I know we don't have a history here of doing quick releases, but I held EY 911.111, and I'm happy to move the staff recommendations and let that go.
Councillor Perruzza moves the staff recommendations on EY 9.11, and if you bear with me, I'm just going to read out the title.
It's 4001 Steeles Avenue, 5000 Jane, and 360 Almar zoning bylaw amendment and site plan control applications, appeal report.
Okay, Councillor Councillor Perruzza moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, we'll go back to the order paper.
Sorry, thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Back to the order papers, EY 9.5, 5 Capri Road, zoning bylaw amendment decision report. We have speakers registered. The first speaker is Sarah Lynn Holliday. Welcome, Sarah. Or I should say Sarah Lynn. Yes. Welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am a concerned resident in the neighborhood. So I live at the building that's on Capri, 7 Capri. My concerns have to do a lot with traffic. So this area has a lot of schools, young kids, bus pickups and drop-offs. I'm concerned because in the letter that I received by mail, it says that they want to extend Capri Road. So I imagine what that means is they want to make the street longer, so go deeper in towards the highway. That raises a lot of issues because if people are accessing this area for like retail purposes and stuff, I just feel it's gonna bring a lot of traffic there. Also, there's 800 units proposed. If you think of how much more people are gonna be taking the bus and driving on this road, which is only 2 lanes, it just is impossible to me to imagine accommodating that amount of people in a safe way. My daughter, she goes to the school that's on Cowley, which runs adjacent to East Mall on one side of the school. And her and a lot of her classmates walk actually on East Mall. She has to cross over Capri to get to my building. And I just feel like there's just no way to accommodate this volume of people. That's the bulk of my concerns, really.
Thank you. And I'm going to be able to ask, if I may just ask you a couple of questions about it, because I want to ask the staff about it.
Yeah.
So you're in the building next door.
Yes.
And you're worried about the extra people and the amount of traffic that it would generate.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you seen the map that shows the shape of the street? So Capri
Yes.
Road goes in, and then it's going to make a left turn and go towards the building.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine the extension that's proposed is to put like a public road in front of where 5 Capri is right now, and then the new structure is going to be like behind that to the side.
towards the Burnhamthorpe Collegiate School.
Yes,
Yep.
but that's behind another address that runs in
Correct.
front of it that's on
Yep.
East Mall. This also raises concerns because at the end of where Capri currently extends to before you enter into number 5 Capri, there's a play area there which a lot of kids play basketball. There's no fence in between this play area and the road currently. Also, that part of the road is it's kind of like a little bit of a roundabout. So my building, everybody that leaves from the park, the underground parking, has to go through that section. Also, a lot of school buses turn around right there. So I don't know if they, I just can't imagine how they plan to divert so much traffic through that small section. The other side of the parking lot for 7 Capri Road, to get out from that area, you would have to be making a left onto Capri, and all of those proposed residents would be driving straight on Capri, and then we would have to be making a left to merge with them to access the East Mall.
Okay.
And I feel like that would be a really big issue as well, with that volume of people, to be there in the mornings, the afternoons. And there's an abundance of students that stand also in that same area, waiting to get on and off the buses for the Catholic school that's in the area. So it's just a lot of congestion.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Art Beckford. Is Art here? Welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council.
Thank you.
You
Good
have
afternoon.
5 minutes to speak, and if you could just tilt the microphone a little bit.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a few concerns. One of my major issues that I have is recently I have a brain injury on my left side. So I was hit by a drunk driver and I suffer. So a lot of my routines through the week, twice of the week, I have to go and get injections in my head all the way down to my knees, just so that I can try to cope. I have sensitivity to noise, light. This, where the construction would be happening, my balcony is faced the direct area and where this would be taking place. This would be completely unbearable for me as a person to have to deal with that for years on end for construction to be coming up. It's something unbearable. I already have issues just starting to try to accommodate or get used to what I have to go through. Now I have to use a walker just to get to and from. So, and on top of it, in our area where we live right now, we're not undeveloped. We are well developed. We have schools, a series of different buildings, a series of houses. When you're putting more buildings there, you're saturating an area that's already condensed as it is. And then we're already struggling with situations with schools and teachers being upset about classes being overfilled. So when you put 800 and something units in an area, coupled by you don't even know how many people are going to be in each independent unit, everything is going to be well oversaturated. I don't understand the process of this. It's going to confuse and create such chaos in the area itself. There are a lot of people like myself that I have spoken to. Nobody is happy about this situation coming about because we can foresee that, in all honesty, there's more cons to this than there are pros. I don't think anyone's taken into consideration, okay, yeah, we're putting up 800 and something units, sure, but we live on a cul-de-sac. We have 2 lanes going down East Mall. We have so many residents. So how is this going to possibly work? There's not enough room to accommodate this. And then for years to come with the construction, how are we supposed to be able to maneuver in and out? Exactly what Sarah said with the school buses. We had, on Capri, I lived there for 7 years, we never even had a street light at Capri and East Mall. Just to control the traffic, we had to put up a street light there. That's to show you, so how are we gonna now navigate around all this extraness? And then for people like me who, I've lived there, now I have to sit through hearing taka 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 all day. There are people who go to work, who work at nighttime. This is just insane. It's really disrupting the way how we live as a community. We have community where the police, we have functions where the children of the community as us was in the very base, the basketball court in the front of the building. We have movie nights. We have all these things that we have. These things are going to be all disrupted. And I don't think this is, a lot of things have been taken into consideration. And then on top of it, I'm just concerned at the simple fact that we're having this meeting for this zoning meeting at 1:30 in the afternoon where a lot of people cannot be here to voice their concerns because they have to work, especially in this day and age with inflation. Nobody can afford to take time off work. So I think another meeting needs to be held where people can afford to be here, because we have spoken to several people in the neighborhood and we're not happy about this to be taking place. And then it also seems, if I'm correct, there's another area beside us that's supposed to be zoning as well. So the little greenage area that we have, that's going to be disrupted. So I would understand and could understand if we were an undeveloped community, but we're not. We are a very well-developed community with a lot of people already that we work together and get things done.
Thank you for speaking to us today. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Next speaker is Sue Chen. Hi, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would like to thank the Etobicoke York Community Council for considering this item today. My name is Sue Chen, and I'm a development manager at 10 Block, the developer of 5 Capri. I'm here to share some information about 10 Block, our approach to this application, and an overview of the project. 10 Block is a sustainable housing developer with a portfolio of properties across Toronto spanning over 65 years. We are experienced in housing development and currently have over 7,000 apartments in rezoning or concept development. Our portfolio includes full redevelopment rental replacement projects, infill projects, and retrofit projects. 5 Capri is located in a wonderful and evolving community. To provide new places to live for new and existing residents of Etobicoke, our proposal today is to provide 800 new apartments at 5 Capri. This is an infill project. The existing 5 Capri apartment building is staying in place, and we worked with city staff to ensure that an appropriate separation distance is provided here between the new buildings and the existing 5 Capri building, and that substantial improvements to the indoor and outdoor amenities are made available to the existing tenants as part of the redevelopment. As with all 10 Block developments, sustainability and thoughtful public realm design were key focuses for us. At 5 Capri, we intend to achieve at least Tier 2 of the Toronto Green Standard. We are also incorporating a geothermal heating and cooling system at the site so that the new building can be heated and cooled using clean, renewable energy. As part of the development, we are also dedicating 10% of our land to the city as parkland, incorporating a large and prominently located privately owned public space in the center of our development, and connecting all of these components as well as neighboring parkland with a public pedestrian trail that we have worked with city staff and the councillor's office to ensure will remain open to the public in perpetuity. We look forward to continuing to advance the project design in order to deliver high-quality apartments and an engaging and community-focused public realm. We have greatly appreciated the opportunity to work together with city staff to develop a project that supports and advances the city's priorities and planning objectives. We hope for approval from the committee today, and I thank the chair for the time. I'm available to answer questions from the committee.
Thank you. Are there questions? I have a couple.
Councillor Holiday, questions?
So the previous speakers talked about the level of disruption that construction would cause. Can you tell us a little bit about how you will protect the community and work harmoniously? Because I know the site, there's 2 buildings on a cul-de-sac. It's a very busy place. And so this is challenging. You're going to have to build there. Can you tell us how that will work?
Absolutely. We are very sensitive to how disruptive construction can be. We also recognize that construction is a necessary, though disruptive, process through which we must provide new housing. In this situation, I would point the chair and councillors to the fact that a construction mitigation and tenant communication plan will be agreed to with the city as part of the site planning process. It is through that we will have detailed discussions with city housing staff to ensure that the construction in this situation is as undisruptive as we can make it.
My other question is, Community Council received a report posted late Friday night, and there's a significant change in there to the parking. Why would that come the night before, essentially the business day before the community meeting?
It is not our intention to make a last-minute change. I can speak to the two different components of it. The change to the residential visitor parking is to reflect what is already designed for in our latest architectural plan. With respect to residential parking, it was through discussions with transportation services that we agreed that 0.58 as a parking ratio was appropriate for this site. We always intend to balance the considerations of providing sufficient parking with not providing too much parking in the site, because that becomes a financial burden to the residents.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Questions?
Thank you for joining us. I know you have questions, but our process doesn't allow it to restart. I'm sorry, I'm not able to accommodate it.
Questions to staff?
Just check, are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing none. Thank you. I have
Councillor
questions.
Holiday, questions to staff?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I wondered if staff could talk a little bit about some of the concerns on how the traffic will flow around the site, and if there's a way to compare it to a site around about the traffic that it will generate. I think it's 800 and change units. I just don't remember off the top of my head, but I wanted to see if we could explain that there's a plan around how the traffic will flow and how it will operate on Capri Road and how the road will function in its final form.
Through the chair. So first and foremost, I want to say that this project was required to submit a traffic impact study that would be acceptable to the city and to transportation services. They did submit such a study. We reviewed it, and we asked for initial modifications. A revised study was submitted to address those issues or concerns. And based on the review of the revised study, then we accepted the traffic impacts of the development. So the new proposal will generate approximately 260 two-way trips in the AM and PM peak hours. That reflects an arrival and departure rate of approximately 5 vehicles per minute.
5 vehicles per minute. Is there a site along the east or west mall corridor that is roughly similar to this, so that people would have an idea? Essentially, we're doubling, like the proposal is to double the amount of people that live on Capri Road. There's 2 buildings there, and then there will be additional there that are added. Is there a site that's around that size so people could gauge what the in and out condition will be on Capri Road? I don't know if Valhalla across the way or Eva Road or one of those would be a somewhat similar.
Through the chair, there are a number of existing buildings on this near the site that would probably be fairly comparable to the site once full build-out is achieved on this property. I don't know what the exact unit count is for the existing building, so I'm giving a ballpark estimate.
So when you tell Community Council that 262 trips during the peak will occur, or about 5 vehicles a minute, how do you know? Is that based on experience, or does somebody calculate this with math? How does one know that that's the number? Okay, we just, I'm sorry, we can't take comments.
I'm sorry, the public cannot speak now because we're in committee. Councillor Holiday?
Thank you. Mr. Nicolucci, if you could just articulate on how those are determined.
Yep. Through the chair, there are various generally accepted methodologies to determine what the trip rates are for any proposed development. There could be trip generation surveys of existing proxy sites as one methodology. Another methodology could also be the use of the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual. In this particular case, they used a combination of both to determine what the trips would be for the proposal.
Thank you. if I can ask one other, just a general question again about how we gauge and determine when and where an infill project would occur. Thank you for joining us, but I think that's for planning. This is a very large building being added to a site that has an open space. And so what does the city's official plan tell the community, to owners of property, to community council about how to think through these type of applications?
Back to you, Mr. Chair. As I commented on the last item, yes, new infill development like this can be disruptive in terms of the construction phase. It is encouraged, though, where there is large expanses of, I'll just say space or land area associated with a site that has the potential to be framed properly and allow for infill. We encourage, or we at least will look at that encouraging. It's then about what's the scale, what's appropriate, and that goes through a whole planning review process. In this case, we're at a point where we felt comfortable bringing forward a recommendation report for this density and height. And as one of the deputants said, it's something that will absolutely generate, it will take a couple of years to construct a project like this. And during site plan control, we'll seek to get a construction mitigation plan through or reviewed to try and minimize any of those impacts.
Thank you. To speak.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holliday to speak.
If I could ask the clerk to present the motions. So the first motion is very similar to the one I moved on the previous project. It reminds the residents of these buildings that there is not an opportunity to create on-street parking should there not be enough parking that is built. And then there will be associated warning clauses in people's, either their purchase or their leases, depending on whether or not the building is for rent or if it is for purchase. And finally, it asks that the developer let people know that if you are moving in or you have guests and there's no space left in the parking lot below, the closest parking lots are to be inserted into the agreement so that they understand that. The second motion, I'm moving, to be really clear here, recommendations 2, 3, and 4 of the supplementary report. And then finally, I will move recommendations 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the community planning report. Members, infill development is always very, very difficult. And I thank the residents who have taken the time to come out to the meeting today to let us know how challenging it is going to be for them. We work under the rules of the official plan, and that informs the community about where and when development can occur. It informs the landowners what they can apply for, and then we work through that process through community council and through city council to determine what is appropriate and how big and how positioned. Through this process, things come up, and one of the things that I worry very much about is the practicality of parking in this area. I know the space very well. I've lived in this community for a long time, and if you don't have a parking space, there isn't anywhere nearby to leave your car, and especially if you don't have a space and you live there. So I am requesting that these clauses go into the warning that people will get when they either rent or purchase, because they need to understand that. And that has to do with our bylaws, and it has to do with these proposals and working through some of the conversation and the questions that Mr. Nicolucci talked about the vehicles, how often they will come and go, and how much traffic will be generated by it. There is a larger plan for the area, and that has been thought through by the Toronto Public Service and by the applicant about how the streets will work. I understand the concerns over the road safety. Perhaps if we can think about some of the other sites that are found along the East Mall and West Mall, we could have an idea of what this will look like once it's finally built. But there's always room for improvements, and that's what the local councillor does, as well as during the construction process. There's a call in here to have a plan about that and a communication plan with the tenants. So I will be there to help work through that process. And nobody should ever underestimate how difficult some of these projects can be, but we do have a process that we have to follow, and that is it at Community Council. And finally, I regret if there's any sentiment that this is the only time and place where feedback can be brought. We do our best to try to have a community consultation meeting and reach out to as many people as possible and have a long period to gather feedback, but even feedback today is better than not having it at all. So I appreciate folks taking time out of their day to come and speak to us at Community Council. So on that, I'll make sure I get this right, Madam Clerk. The First Amendment, on the amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That amendment carries. On recommendations number 2, 3, and 4 of the supplementary report, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. And then on the recommendations as outlined in the motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. That item is done. I am just being advised by staff on the previous item, number 4. I just need a council's indulgence to change one of the numbers in the text that was provided as an advisory clause. So we have to reopen 9.4.
Okay, so motion to reopen the item, 9.4, for a technical amendment. On favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Councillor Holiday, on your technical amendment.
The clerks will put that up. Just to be clear, this is the text of the advisory. It's not the actual number of units or parking spaces, but it just has to do with the count of them. So that's just being updated, that text.
Okay, so on the technical amendment that's on the screen, on favor? Item is amended. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I pass the chair back to you.
Thank you. Okay, EY 9.6, 1871, 1879, 1885, Weston Road, and PIN 10324-0541, official plan amendment, and zoning bylaw amendment decision report. We have a number of speakers. The first speaker is John Frogley Rawson from Weston Park Baptist Church. Is John in the chamber? Great. Welcome to the Community Council, John. You've got 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. I represent the members at Weston Park Baptist Church, and I'm the chair of the redevelopment committee. In 2008, Weston Park Baptist Church sought to expand its vision to serve the Weston community by utilizing its lands. The church invited 30 community leaders to a consultation forum. At that forum, the concept of a center for the community was born. The church has demonstrated a long record of responding to community needs by launching 2 community organizations, the Frontlines Youth Center, and secondly, the Weston Area Emergency Support Food Bank. Weston Park Baptist Church maintains its support for these 2 organizations by providing space free of charge and staff and volunteers for over 30 years. There we go. In that same year, 2008, the church became a partner in a community charrette and a technical advisory panel which focused on the Weston community. Councillor Nunziata enlisted the city staff, and the Weston Residents Association engaged technical experts from the Urban Land Institute. This initiative expanded the scope for redevelopment of the community to include all the lands surrounding the Weston GO station, which included the church. The foundational elements of the Weston Park redevelopment are to provide two anchor facilities, a high school-sized gymnasium and a combined worship/theater space to seat 400 people. We believe that these two facilities will enrich the Weston community. Now, in 2015, the church issued an RFP to the development community with the support of the city councillor. The development community response was robust. And then in 2017, the church entered into a letter of agreement, of intent with Castle Point Numa. From the very first meeting we had with Castle Point Numa, we knew we had a great partner. Their commitment to the project's vision was clear by their proven best-in-class city building, their insistence that both heritage buildings be maintained, and their complete alignment on the importance of the transformational power of a center for the community in Weston. This journey has not been a straight line. Many times, both the heritage structures and the community program were thrown into jeopardy. As a good partner does, Castle Point guided their project team tactfully to deliver the entire program, fulfilling the church's vision. Today, for us, it's a great milestone. It's been a long journey. We stand closer to realizing the dream that has emerged from a church that has served the Weston community for 116 years. The church, and we know Castle Point too, want to express our gratitude to the councillor, the city staff, and the Weston community for their support. And we look forward to a timely start and delivery of this for the center for the community.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Mazem Hossein from the Weston Village BIA. Welcome, Mazem.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Madam Councillor. My name is Mazem Hossein. I'm the chair of the Weston Village BIA Improvement Area. After review and consultation, the Weston Village Business Improvement Area Board of Management would like to express our support for the Weston Park development proposal at 1871, 1879, and 1885 Weston Road. As an organization with the mission to work towards a thriving Main Street, we believe the features proposed for this project will bring excitement and animation at the core of Weston Village. We are in support of the 14,424 square feet of retail, which we anticipate will pave the way for new restaurants, cafes, and niche stores to join our business community. In addition, the increased density of residents will mean more customers for our current shops and service providers. Being in a neighborhood improvement area, we also recognize the needs for community-focused investment, particularly for the local youth. We feel the addition of the gymnasium in the 33,702 square feet of community space will provide much needed recreational facilities and indoor public space. We would be in support of use of community benefits generated from the redevelopment to ensure the construction of the gymnasium. The Weston Village Business Improvement Area welcomes the investments and commitment for increased density in our neighborhood, and believe this project is in the spirit of our mission and vision for a vibrant Main Street. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Dave Bennett, Weston Village Residents Association. Welcome. Please begin when you're ready.
Welcome. To whom it may concern, I'm writing on behalf of the Weston Village Residents Association to express the support for the building application permit for the Weston Park Baptist Church, Castle Point development at 1865, 1871, and 1885 Weston Road. We believe that this project will be a valuable addition to our community and will contribute to the growth and development of our city. We support the use of community benefits from this development to be directed to the construction of the gymnasium being built within the project. The gymnasium will be an asset to the community and provide much needed community recreational facilities, especially for our youth. In September of this year, the Weston Village Residents Association conducted a survey of residents to understand the community needs and asset benefit ideas. 227 residents responded. A community gymnasium incorporated into this residential tower development received overwhelming support, with 83% of the respondents scoring it highly appealing or appealing. We urge you to approve this in-kind contribution of this community benefit and support the continued growth and development of our neighborhood. Thank you for this consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Jason Doolin. Okay. The next speaker is Max Laskin. Is Max in? Great. No? Okay. Is Max online? Okay. The next speaker is Benjamin Hoff, Urban Strategies, Inc. And I can cross out your Benjamin. We have Max? Okay. We'll let Max go in order.
I can speak on behalf of Max actually while he gets connected, but he's here as a resource if any questions come up, but isn't planning to speak. He's
Okay.
with the
All right.
development team.
Max is part of your team? Okay. And you're Benjamin?
I am.
Okay. And you're not by video conference? You can cross that out.
In person.
Thank you. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of council. Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Hoff. I'm a planner and a partner with a firm called Urban Strategies, and we're supporting the development approval process on behalf of Weston Baptist Church and Castle Point Numa, and I'm the applicant. So I'm very pleased to be here for what is a very exciting partnership that will deliver substantial community benefits and programming alongside transit-oriented intensification. And this project is the culmination of many years of the exploration of partnerships to the definition of a development project and to the refinement of the project, in particular with staff. And so there have been many discussions with the community and engagement along the way, including many discussions in the church itself, some of which I participated in. And the project, as you've heard from some of the other deputants, it comes with many positive outcomes. It'll conserve heritage resources, create new pedestrian infrastructure connecting to the GO station, or the Weston station, UP station, and most importantly, a new community space in the base, in the podium, that will have large spaces for the community, including a performance hall and sanctuary and a full-size gymnasium and other uses. It's a really complex project, and some of those complexities lie with delivering those community spaces and the challenges that creates from a built form perspective. Figuring out where the heritage buildings are, the easement across the site, and the large bay community space. Those large community spaces required a very complex process to get it right, and including on a triangular site, which is a unique one in the city. And so we really appreciate the efforts of city staff to really work through this process to refine and come up with the best ultimate outcome to resolve many of those conflicts and dealing with the many constraints on the site. So on behalf of the team, I want to communicate support for the staff recommendations. While we have some concerns with the extent of the holding provisions that are there, they largely speak to minor concerns that we hope to address, and we hope to actually resolve those in short order as the approval is finalized. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I will ask, are there any other speakers? Seeing none, questions of staff? Seeing none, to speak, Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, thank you. So I do have a motion on this. We can put it on the screen. Okay, it's on the screen. So I'm moving my amendment, and as well as the the report, the staff recommendation. Are we dealing with 12 as well now, or?
Sorry, 12 is right after this, the
Okay,
Heritage.
all right.
It's separate, though.
Okay, so I'll move that. And so I want to thank staff for working on this application and thank the Residents Association and the BIA. As John mentioned, from the Weston Baptist Church, it was a charrette many years ago, and a number of staff attended, and as well as ULI and the community. And it was a vision for Weston. So this development at 1871, 79, 85 Western Road, this development project is the result of a unique partnership formed in 2017 between Weston Park Baptist Church and Castle Point Numa Developments. This was the perfect partnership as they both shared the same vision, enhanced the surrounding neighborhood by bringing new investments and strengthening the community ties. In February 2020, the journey began, and after many community meetings and working closely with the Weston Village Residents Association, the Weston Village BIA, the Weston Historic Society, and many other local groups and organizations, it was made clear that our community wants to create a vibrant, multi-use community hub that would be accessible for all. The design of the development also needed to meet a high standard of architecture and include a mix of community, retail, commercial, and residential space while respecting the rich heritage of the Weston community and the Weston Park Baptist Church. Given the site's location, the community also sees this site as a hub for activity that connects the new transit station to the local area and enhances the pedestrian and cycling connections for the neighborhood. Over the years, the Weston Baptist Church and Castle Point Numa have been working hard with all the community groups, city staff, and my office to incorporate the community's vision and feedback into this development. And there were a number of community meetings that were held in that, and we had a huge participation in all of the consultation meetings. Today, before us, the result of all the endless hours of work, the two foundational elements of the Weston Park development is to provide a community program that includes two anchor facilities, a high school, a school-sized gymnasium, and a combined worship theater space to seat 400 people, believing that these two facilities will enrich the Weston community while preserving the heritage building. And I want to thank the community and thank Castle Point and the Weston Baptist Church on the number of meetings that we had and the full support that we've had. And as it was mentioned by Dave Bennett from the Residents Association, there was a survey that was done with residents in Weston, and surprisingly, the number of people that responded in support and supporting the gymnasium was overwhelming. So I want to thank everyone for that. So I'm moving the the recommendation from the report and the amendment that I've just moved.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, on Councillor Nunziata's amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. On the item is amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. The next item is number 12. That's right. And so that's the heritage side of this. So let me just announce it. EY 9.12. 1871 and 1879 to 1885 Weston Road, alterations to the heritage attributes of designated properties and authority to enter into a heritage easement agreement. And we do not have speakers on this item.
Yeah, I don't believe we have speakers, but I think that this report, we're all in support of it. And I know the Weston Baptist Church has been working on this as well. So I would just move the recommendation on number 12.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Next item is EY 9.13. 153 Perry Crescent, application to remove a private tree. Do we have any speakers registered? We do not. Okay, I'll move staff recommendations then. On staff recommendations, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Next item is EY 9.14, 126 Yorkview Drive, request for offense exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, we have a speaker, Anuska Kosiyuba. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. I got it, okay. Anuska, welcome to the Etobicoke York Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and Council members. I'm Anuska, and along with my husband, Paul, we are here today to explain why we are requesting a fence height exemption of 0.33 meter for 2 sections in our backyard. The fence is built 6 inches from our property line, and the rest of our fence height is within the bylaw limit. Where the 2 taller sections of the fence currently stand, we used to have a hedge that was maintained between 2 to 2.5 meters tall, no different than the height of our fence now. We intended to use the overhead projector, but I believe the 4 photos we submitted were included for your reference. I'd like to draw your attention to 2 photos of our hedge, one where it was freshly trimmed at the top, standing at 2.1 meter, and the other where it is grown out to 2.2 meter. We don't have a photo showing it at its peak at 2.5 meters. Our adjacent neighbor to the east at 124 Yorkview Drive used to significantly trim our hedge on their side, leaving it sparse, which resulted in clear lines of sight into our backyard. The same neighbor has 3 dogs, and to be very clear, we both absolutely love dogs and are getting one of our own. We've included a photo showing their raised sunroom located to the back of their house, where their dogs spend a lot of time and would spot us through the gaps in the hedge and start barking continuously the moment we would step into our backyard. They would not stop, often forcing us to leave our own backyard. One notable instance was when Paul was removing the hedge in advance of our waterproofing. For close to 2 hours straight, they barked to the point where our neighbors across the street came by to see if they could help calm them down. I really need to emphasize here that without the added 0.33 meter height, their dogs will have a line of sight into our backyard. The added height on our fence has proven to be very effective in providing privacy and peace when we are in our backyard. Our neighbor's garage is located very close to our property line as well, and close proximity to our bedroom window. We've included photos taken after 10 p.m. from our bedroom window. It is embarrassing to say, but we both go to bed very early and we wake up early. Every night, bright lights and noise from work in their garage would flood into our bedroom late into the night, interrupting and preventing our sleep. The previous hedge did not provide much filter to the bright lights that would shine into our bedroom at night. However, the taller sections of the fence have really helped block most of this light now. We've also found the fence has helped muffle the noises from our neighbor's garage, their vehicles revving, whatever other sounds, and also their dogs. Our neighbor thoroughly enjoys spending entire days in his garage and also in the 12 feet of space between the back of our house and his garage. He's always there. We have really no issues with our neighbor's vehicle hobby, and we acknowledge his cool hot rod. But it is quite a loud hobby, and the fence height is a good compromise to afford us privacy. Additionally, we're in the process of obtaining permits for a major renovation next year. Similar to our neighbor's raised sunroom, our intention is to also have a raised sitting area against the back of our house where we will host our friends and family, and this higher fence will provide both sides with privacy. We have received compliments from our other neighbors about how our all-wood fence is tastefully built. Some have kindly documented their support for us, and we have included their letters with our application for your reference. Other neighbors support us fully but did not want to get involved due to the public nature of the letters, which we of course respect and understand. Our intention has always been to build a positive, friendly, and neighborly relationship with our neighbors, and we were kind enough to allow our neighbor to our east to park their motorcycle on our property from the moment we moved in 5 years ago. You can see the covered bike in one of our hedge photos, so we are quite surprised that we are here today. We feel the added 0.33 meter of fence height in the 2 rear sections is a reasonable request given the circumstance and is no different in height than what was there previously. We should be able to enjoy our property just like our neighbor enjoys theirs. We have read the material in advance and kindly ask for the alternative recommendation in the comments section that would allow us to keep the fence height. We ask for your compassion and understanding to allow us to continue to enjoy the privacy, peace, and tranquility in our home and backyard that our 2 taller fence sections has provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on this item? Yep, I'm just looking to see. We do not have you registered. If you can come up, sorry, I don't have my sheet. If you just come up and give us your name, that'd be great.
My name is David Ferrugia. I'm the neighbor at 126 Yorkview Drive.
Thank you.
And I did register, by the way.
Okay, it ended up on the wrong side of the paper.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks, David. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to the council. I'm just to address what the resident at 126 has previously mentioned. The dispute doesn't seem to be with the topic that she has brought up with the fence at the back of the house. I'm quite good with that. As the bylaw officer has mentioned, that I asked to come out to the resident, is that the fence was out of bylaw regulation in the front and the back of the house. So I'm here asking that the front of the house fence be adjusted to the according bylaw, fencing bylaw, and I'm really quite okay with what they have put up in the back of the house.
Thank you. Was that it?
Yeah, just I want to mention also too that the reason that the fencing bylaws are in place to avoid visual obstructions in the front of the house, so that's what I'm trying to emphasize here today.
Okay. Any questions?
And I also had also some letters that were issued. I don't see them up there from other neighbors and the residents as well too. So just to make note of that.
So we have on this item, we have 3 letters, and one of them is from you.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Questions of staff? Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Through you to staff, I just wondered if you could comment on the front portion of the fence that the previous deputant just alluded to, and confirm whether or not it is in compliance with the existing bylaw.
Good afternoon. Through you, Chair. Hi, Councillor Morley. My name's Chantal. I'm supervisor with the West District for Wards 2 and 3. I actually spoke to the officer just before this community council to discuss the property, and the officer confirmed that the measurement from the sidewalk back was over 8 feet. I also confirmed if there was any sightline obstruction concerns, which there were not. And I asked if there was any observation of violations in the front yard, and he confirmed that there was not.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I appreciate that, Chantal. That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none to speak, Councillor Morley, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the residents, both the applicant and the neighbor, for joining us here today. It's important, that you have your voices heard as part of this process. I do appreciate the work done by staff and their due diligence. As was stated, currently the front portion of the fence is in compliance, and both the adjacent neighbor as well as the applicant have made good rationale and have, shared that they would like to go forward with the fence as is. So I'll be moving the alternate staff recommendations for approval of the fence exemption at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anyone else to speak? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor Morley moves the alternate recommendation to grant the application for a fence exemption. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item is carried. Thank you. Next item is EY 9.16. which is 52 Charleston Road, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. We have one speaker, Agatha Johnson. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm the owner of that property. We did submit 3 letters from all of the adjacent neighbors to confirm that their approval with the fence. So I don't know, do I still have to go into details?
You can just let us know whatever we need to know.
Okay,
It would
okay, I
help.
just don't want to
Yep.
waste your time. So I guess initially we put up the fence. I guess it's 1 foot higher than the allowed height of the fence. The property east of us is a rental house, and at the time when we moved in May 2020, there was a tenant that lived there with 3 aggressive German Shepherds, and we had a 1-year-old, and it was a really old chain link fence with really old cedar trees. So because he was so little, we were obviously quite scared for him because of the dogs, and they didn't care what we said in terms of not allowing the dogs to come close to the fence. And also they were able to jump up. There's like a box that was there because there's a shed in the back as well. They were able to jump up on the box, and the only thing stopping them from jumping into our backyard was the line of cedar trees that were there. So we built a tall fence to kind of avoid any confrontation with the tenants that are there, and that house is still a rental property. And at the same time, the neighbor to the south of us used to have a very, very old shed that was infested with raccoons, lots of raccoon feces. And again, we had a little boy at the time, and now we have another one as well. So this summer, we finally compromised with that neighbor, and he allowed us to pay to take it down. So that is no longer an issue. But that was also one of the other reasons why we had that fence, to kind of cover that shed so we didn't have to see it. So those are the 2 reasons why we had a taller shed or a taller fence, and all the neighbors have since signed letters for the purpose of us being here today.
Thank you. I'm just going to add that I didn't have any questions of the speaker. Thank you for talking to us today. My question is to the clerk. I just want to confirm we have no other speakers and no correspondence on this file. Okay, I'm going to speak. Let me pass the chair.
Councillor Holiday to speak.
Very simply, I will move the alternate recommendation to grant the fence exemption. And thank you, everyone who's waiting. I know it's been a long day. Okay, on my amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Approved. Yep. EY 9.17, 96 Cowley Avenue, request for a fence exemption of the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. Nina, you use Haninova. Is Nina's online? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Nina. We can hear you. It's Stephen Holiday, the chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you so much for listening to me. I just want to explain why we would like to keep our existing vinyl fence around the pool. It does not comply with the fence by law because it's made of vinyl instead of wood. So the fence in question is 4 years old, and we built it before we had any plans to build a pool. And PVC vinyl is it's an incredibly strong and durable material, and it never cracks, rot, rust, splits, or warps, and it's designed to last up to 30 years, and they can withstand wind up to 144 kilometers an hour. And according to the manufacturer of the fence, which is called all-season PVC fence, it's the strongest fence on the market, using heavy-duty H posts spaced 6 feet apart, opposed to 8 feet apart, which provides up to 30% stronger wind resistance for a longer period of time. And for us to replace the fence, it would be about $28,000 for 295 linear feet around the property. And we did talk to our neighbors to the north and to the west. They do not oppose to us keeping the fence as is. In fact, our neighbor to the east is building a pool right now as well, which should be finalized in about 1 month. So they will be applying for the same fence exemption as we do, and our neighbor to the north, they do not mind the fence as well, and they have an on-ground pool during summers. So they don't have an issue with it as well. And also because our family, we have 2 kids, 2 years old and 4 years old, and a dog, and we were really concerned about the safety of the pool on our property. So we installed a safety auto cover, and it is operated through a keypad that is attached to the side of our house. And the only way to open and close the auto cover, you have to know the password. And it's only my husband and I who know the password. So even if someone was to jump a fence and get to our property in order to swim into the pool, we keep the cover closed at all 100% time when we do not use the pool. And the cover is made of heavy duty material, and 20 people can jump on it, and it's not gonna rip. Like it's very secure and protective, and we installed it because we have 2 young kids ourselves. That's pretty much it. I'm sorry, do you have any questions? I did submit some documents via email. I'm not sure if you had a chance to receive it or not, but there were just some screenshots from our fence manufacturer and from our auto cover manufacturer regarding their wind resistability and safety.
Okay,
I don't.
Yep.
If there is anything else I can say?
We did receive a presentation from you. I can just let you know that. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you once again. I'll check. Are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing
No.
none. Thank you. I have some questions of staff, if I may, pass the chair.
Councillor Holiday, questions.
Ms. Cormier, just a couple. Can you confirm we're here today just because of the fence material? It's not otherwise permitted under the bylaw, which only allows for chain link and wood, right?
Through you, Chair, yes. It allows for a couple other materials like glass and stuff, but yeah, just for the material.
Okay. Are you satisfied that this fence is not climbable?
Through you, Chair, yeah, there's no climbability on either side of the fence.
And are you satisfied that it is otherwise sturdy and rigorous and it's a suitable fence?
Through you, Chair, yes, we are satisfied with the fence and there are no health and safety concerns that we can identify.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. No other questions?
Councillor Holiday?
To speak? I will move the alternate recommendation to grant the exemption. And on the amended item, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, so 917 is done. I'll just go back to the item list. We're getting down to the bottom of the list. We do still have some speakers registered, though. Okay, so the next one is EY 9.29, safety measures to increase pedestrian crossing safety at Browns Line and Jellicoe Avenue. We don't have any speakers registered, but over to you, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, this is one of those old Etobicoke elements that we no longer pursue. So it's a mid-block crossing at Jellicoe Avenue and Browns Line. It's just a few hundred meters south of an existing signalized intersection. However, there do continue to be very significant safety concerns for area residents to get across to the bus stop that is on the east side of Browns Line. And very unfortunately, a tragic incident a few months ago in our community at that intersection where a young woman lost her life trying to get across the street. So we're just looking here to have transportation services staff do some safety enhancements of that mid-block crossing in order to make it abundantly clear both to drivers in the area but as well to pedestrians who are crossing how in fact to do that in the most safe way possible. So I would look to my colleagues on Community Council for support to enhance this mid-block crossing to increase safety for area residents.
On the recommendations from Councillor Morley, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. The next item is EY 9.31, traffic calming measures on Kingsway Crescent between Thorndale Avenue and Queen Anne Road. We have speakers registered. The first speaker is Isaac Shirokoff. Is Isaac here or online? Online.
I'm here online.
Hello, Isaac. Stephen Holliday, Chair of the Etobicoke York Community Council. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please begin when you're ready.
Great. Hi, my name's Isaac from 102 Kingsway Crescent. Just wanted to say that this is a surprisingly busy street. There are kids that often walk up and down it, and it needs some level of traffic calming. So I'm in support of this item. That's all.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Brian Fields. Is Brian is not available. Okay. Our next speaker is Paul Clark.
Yeah, I'm here.
Paul, thank you for your patience. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak. You can begin when you're ready.
Good to be here. I'm not much of a speaker, but I would like to oppose the proposed speed bumps on Kingsway Crescent. First off, I would like to say that this is a huge issue, and a letter from the city should have been sent to all area residents who could be affected by this measure. No one I know, and I know a lot of people in the Kingsway, even know that this is happening. My brother and his family live at 8 Queen Anne Road. Both he and his wife also opposed this measure, and Queen Anne Road is at Walford, which is right where Queen Anne meets Kingsway Crescent. My parents have lived at 39 Kingsway Crescent for the last 40 years, and they also sent letters to the city opposing the speed bumps. I also lived at 39 Kingsway Crescent for many years with my parents and never heard of or witnessed a serious issue with speeding on the street. The street also doesn't qualify for speed bumps going south past Bannon on Kingsway Crescent because there is no sidewalks. The street isn't even that busy for traffic. It's not like heavy traffic on the Kingsway and Prince Edward Drive. There are also already stop signs at Government Road and Bannon Avenue on Kingsway Crescent that slow the traffic in that section of the street. So the speed bumps are unnecessary. I won't go into everything on here that I listed in the email because it's just really my dislike for speed bumps in general for being a nuisance. You have to stop, your car gets bumped, then you have to stop again. It goes over and over again. But the major issue for my parents, who I'm supporting in this, they're out of the country right now, is why the letter that was sent to you from City Councillor Amber Morley was not sent to all the residents on Kingsway Crescent regarding this issue. Nobody seems to know anything about this. The only reason I found out about this was one of the proponents of this proposal sent an email to my brother's wife Friday night talking about this. They had no idea. My brother is a major builder in the area, Kingsway Village Custom Homes. He had no idea about this. And he would know because he knows a ton of people in the area. She says in her letter, Amber Morley, that widespread support has been demonstrated in the area for this proposal, but provides no proof when making this statement in the letter that she sent to you on November the 9th, which is only 4 days before going to vote on this issue. She even admits in her letter that she wants you to waive the polling requirement of the homeowners on Kingsway Crescent that is required under the city's traffic calming policy. This is supposed to be polled for every single person that owns a house on Kingsway Crescent before it's voted on. Let the people decide in a democratic way, which is under the city rules for approving this. What's the rush on quickly pushing the measure through in an undemocratic way? I also take issue with the residents proposing the speed bumps, hiring a private consulting firm to help their cause. Where is the actual report from the BA group recommending the speed bumps, and why is anything from them needed? It's people who live in the area and live on the street that should be deciding on this issue. When it comes to speed bumps in general, the city should really require a referendum so that the people that live in the Kingsway area can vote on a huge issue like this. Let the residents decide if they want speed bumps or not. It's not just people that live on Kingsway Crescent, but all area residents who use the street regularly that will also be drastically affected by this measure. So I guess that's about it.
Thank you for speaking to us. Are there any questions of the speaker?
So usually when there's a request for speed humps, the people that live on that particular street are notified, not all the abutting streets.
My parents have lived at 39 Kingsway Crescent for 40 years. They always get stuff from the city. They have not received anything regarding this in an email, phone number, or a letter. Nothing.
No, I understand, but you just mentioned in your deputation why weren't the other streets? And I'm just advising you
I'm
that
just saying they
usually
should
the
be.
street that's
should be, though.
recommended that gets.
They should be, though, because people in the general area, and I'm on Dunedin Drive, they're using Kingsway Crescent all the time. People go over to Loblaws over on Dundas, they hop on Kingsway Crescent, and they go back into their area there. And now they're going to have to hit these speed bumps, which are a huge nuisance.
Okay, well, thank you.
I mean, I am the only one here opposing this. Why do you think I'm the only one here opposing this? Because nobody knows about it. There would be tons of people here opposing this if they knew.
Thank you.
Okay, we also have questions from Deputy Mayor Morley. Deputy Mayor Morley, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. My understanding, so this is something that we have been working on since taking office. We've heard from area residents, and I understand there was previously, as you mentioned in your deputation, a third-party consultant that came in and did work within the local community, doing a survey and sort of other engagement. So I just wanted to check in if you are aware of that, if you or your parents had any participation with that process that was previously.
No, nobody, my parents have no knowledge of that happening. The only reason any of us found out about this was because, luckily, a friend of my brother's wife sent the email from the proponents of this, I guess, that are in this hall, that this was happening on Monday. And this was Friday night. Nobody knows about this. I mean, this is totally undemocratic. The people, every single person on that who has a house on Kingsway Crescent should vote on this before you ruin the area with another stupid measure like this.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you.
Questions of staff. I'm going to ask one brief one.
Councillor Holliday, question to staff.
Is there a report to Community Council on this on this street or this location?
A report through you? No, there is not.
There's not. Okay, that's all. Thank you. To speak, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I would like to defer this item at this time. We have spoken with, and obviously we've heard from deputants on both sides of this issue today, but we have heard from many passionate residents along Kingsway Crescent who also highlighted the lack of sidewalks and some of the other cut-through traffic that was mentioned by both deputants here this afternoon that has presented problems and safety concerns for young children who are walking the area, for seniors, and for others. The other piece that I did just want to flag as an opportunity for correction to the most recent deputant is there is some changes, some updates to traffic calming policy and the way that we are able to do that at the city at this time. It's just very recent, so we'll be sharing an update in our next newsletter as well. But there are some changes that would allow likely for this to go through. But your point is taken. We do very much appreciate local area resident input as part of our decision-making process. And I do think, and it's well taken, that we will do some due diligence to engage with local area residents, defer this item at this time, and revisit it once residents in the area have a more fulsome opportunity to weigh in. So that is my motion at this time, is to defer the item until the next community council. And I would appreciate the indulgence from the committee on that.
Deputy Mayor, the clerk just needs clarification on which date it will come back for reconsideration. Is it next community council meeting or more than one away?
Please correct me, Madam Clerk. I believe our next community council meeting is in January. Is that correct?
January 19th.
Yes. We would like to see the January 19th date, please.
Okay.
Will there be polling then for every resident on the street for this issue?
I'll be working with city staff and my team here at the office to determine what the best way to get feedback from area residents are. We may likely just do a letter from my office and give folks an opportunity to weigh in. As I mentioned, we no longer require a formal poll. And so we will do our due diligence to get feedback and make sure that there's an appropriate channel for local residents to share that with us before the January 20th date, January 19th rather.
So you're saying the polling.
So we'll share more information as we are able, but I just want to make sure that we can get through this procedurally with our clerks.
No, just one more
Paul,
question.
I can help after the meeting and clarify, but our process just doesn't allow the debate back
I
and
just
forth.
wanted to know if the polling was actually voted on by city council.
I'll talk to you after the meeting if that's okay. All right, on the item EY 9.31, Deputy Mayor Morley moves to defer to next day. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And on our final item, I do not believe we have any speakers. We do not. This is EY 9.32, Parking Regulation Amendments, Willoughby Crescent. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, so I'll just move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And Madam Clerk, do we have bills? We do.
Can I just ask one more? Not regarding. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Nunziata, will you do the honors? I can't. We need a microphone.
1023 to 1028, prepared for the November 13, 2023 meeting of the Etobicoke York Community Council, be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. We have a second bill. Please go ahead.
That confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Etobicoke York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 9 on November 13, 2023, be declared as a bylaw and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
City Council literally